Yeah, this is a 12-string electric Tele style, and I swore off these, but I bought another one just to muck with. If you've watched my earlier videos, you'll see a couple of these Cozarts appearing, and if anybody is on our favorite auction site, you'll know these. They crop up. You used to be able to get them under 100, but now I think the secret's out a bit, and I never see them selling that low anymore, so you're gonna have to pay more like 120, 150, 160, particularly for one of these 12 strings. I did buy one of their Strat 12 strings, and I think I did a video on that, or I talked about it at least. I moved that one on. I always wanted electric 12 string, but I'm just going to be honest with you up front here. If you want a quality electric 12 string, and this applies to acoustic as well, spend the money. One of my music partners plays a Burns double six, and she swears by it. And of course there are tons of really nice electric 12 strings out there. This of course is a copy of sorts, the Tele style, Thinline, semi-hollow or chambered body. And it looks decent. I mean, it's a nice, they call it the Antigua finish. Not my favorite, but it's not bad. It's a white with a sort of black burst or smoke burst on there. What drew me to this is the maple fretboard, which I really like. A lot of the ones that I've seen have rosewood boards. This one has a maple board. These are guitars you can really mod and mess around with and put better parts on. It has this bar here in low string trees, which could be improved. The tuners aren't bad, but it does have tuning issues, so perhaps those could be switched out, although tuning issues often indicate other problems like nut grooves and things like that. The biggest problem I have with this guitar, and of course it's going to sound out of tune, with this guitar, and I have messed with this for a couple of hours now, is intonation, and I think it's on this particular guitar it's a design issue, so it's not something that you can adjust out. Now I don't know if you can see that tremolo bridge there, but what they've done is they've got 6 saddles here, and they've put 2 strings per saddle, one that goes through the guitar and one that comes out the back of the saddle, which is quite clever until you start thinking about intonation. So when you do the intonation screw here, it changes the intonation of the string going through the saddle, which is the bigger string of each pair. But the string that goes over the screw on the side and down underneath the guitar is not adjusted. So all you can really do on this is adjust the intonation so that the string pairs match. You can't get the intonation spot on in terms of harmonics. For instance, if I play the harmonic low E here, and then I fret it, it's slightly sharp. This is as close as I could get it, both strings. Here's the A, slightly flat, ever so slightly. So they sound great up here. Whenever I play a 12 string, I always want to play the church under the Milky Way, you know. Anyway, that's the issue. It sounds great down here, but once you start getting up the neck, I play a chord here that has some open strings and then some fretted strings up by the 12th fret. You can hear that's out too. So it really is a guitar, and I find this to be the case on a lot of 12 strings, not just cheap ones, even sort of mid-rangey 12 strings, where you play up the neck and the intonation is off. That's true of acoustic guitars and electric guitars, and that's what I mean when I say if you want a really good, well intonated, beautifully tuned 12-string guitar, spend a bit more money. If you are content to stay down the bottom of the neck and play nice chords, it sounds great. It sounds really, really good, but once you start getting up here, you know, you start hearing slightly, usually flat notes, sometimes sharp notes on the notes that you press. And that's with having worked a long time trying to get those saddles as accurate as you can. Just the design on this, the way that they've routed the strings, makes it almost impossible to get perfect intonation. But before you send me a comment saying, it's a piece of crap, it's Chinese, it's garbage, it's no brand, I want to point out that I have this issue with many a branded 12-string guitar. It's really hard. You find very few that are perfect in the intonation. And if you don't believe me, go to your local guitar shop, pick up any 12-string and play the harmonics on the 12th fret and then fret them. And you will hear, in most cases, a very slight flatness or sharpness with the strings. It'll be out a touch. Of course, with more pressure, more physics, more strings, more happening at the business end of the guitar, anything can throw it off just a bit. That's the same with mandolins as well. I've done a video about mandolins and how hard it is to get a good one at a cheap price, because there's so much pressure on those instruments that the slightest miscalculation or the slightest degree of it being not correct and slightly out of scale, or the saddles not being able to be adjusted just right, will cause the guitar to have intonation problems, or the mandolin in that case. So bear that in mind with things like this. You can pick up something like this for about 120, 150 from our favorite auction site, but you will have to do a lot of setup. And I've talked about these Cozarts before, and there are quite a few videos by other YouTubers now where people have bought them and set them up. They are a complete gamble, and I'm not kidding. This one here, I was lucky I didn't have to do much fret end or fret leveling. I bought a couple of other Cozarts where I basically had to re-level the entire fretboard completely, and then re-crown the frets because they were so bad. And once you do that, you can make it into a reasonable guitar. It's never going to be great. And I found that a lot of these Cozarts have very slight incremental tuning issues. A lot of times that can be corrected by cutting the nut slots so that the strings don't bind, getting rid of these really poor string bars, putting in proper string trees. And in some cases I've replaced tuners, but not always. I find that although these cheap tuners, the ratios aren't great, they will hold tune for the most part if you get the rest of the instrument set up properly. Make sure that you deal with issues at the saddle and the nut before you go tearing tuners off and replacing them. That's my advice anyway. People, when they buy guitars like this, that's the first thing they do is they think they have to replace the tuners, and I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of the issues are at the nut and saddle end of the guitar. I don't know how good these pickups are. They're just probably very, very typical wax potted. No, probably not even wax potted. Just probably microphonic. Not the best, but for a jangly 12-string sound. mean, you can get a nice sound out of it. I don't see a lot of range between the pickup selector. It's quite trebly. Middle one, it's quite nice. My favorite. The bass one, you don't hear a whole lot of difference between the bass and the middle. So the middle gives you both pickups. It seems to be the best. Not the best knobs. Not the greatest paint job either. If you look up close, it's okay from a distance, but when you look up close, it looks fairly cheap. But hey, for the price, you know, what can you expect? To get one of these set up and playing as well as it can, you're not only going to be buying the guitar, you're going to also have to invest in a considerable amount of setup. So if you can get one set up by a luthier, you know, I'd say they're probably worth closer to 200 for that kind of work, because you really have to do a lot of work on these. But anyway, it's another experiment. I thought I'd just grab another one and try it out. This is a model I haven't seen before, and I think it is better than the Strat model that I got, and I think they've improved a few things. If it is indeed a company at all, I think that the sellers that sell these buy kits and then do paint jobs on them, so it's definitely coming from a distributor of sorts rather than a manufacturer. But I think they've improved some things. The fretboard is a little bit better than the ones I've experienced in the past, and the finish, even though I've just pointed out some imperfections, I had a couple in the past that were fairly bad, and yeah, I think you can make a nice jangly 12-string electric acoustic for you to do those chord swirls on. But as far as doing intricate guitar work, I think you probably need a better quality 12-string guitar. But I think it does the job with the setup for basic 12-string playing if you stay down the neck and don't get too high up. For reasons that I explained. Anyway, fun to do. Probably won't keep it. I'll probably move it along and look for another one. But I thought I'd share that with you. It's good to have the information out there, since these are cropping up now a lot online. So I think if more people do videos on them, I think we can make more informed purchases and do better setups. Okay, see you next time.